you come be in the video? Want to say hi?
That is not a happy face.
She's purring though. Hello everybody, my name is Tanya and this is going to be my wrap up for the Read-O-Rama Readathon. So I'm really pleased with how the Readathon went for me. I started late, as you know. I didn't start reading until very late on Sunday. I had a public holiday on Monday so I could devote that to reading, but then I went back to full-time work Tuesday through Friday, so didn't get all that much reading done at all on those days. But yesterday, Saturday, I was able to devote the whole day to reading again, and I got a fair bit done. The first book that I completed, and the book that I was already in the middle of on Sunday, was my Agatha Christie book for the month, N.O.M. Tommy and Tuppence is one of the less popular of her detectives. Everybody knows Hercule Poirot and Miss Marple, but there are 5 stories that feature Tommy and Tuppence. I've read the first 2 Tommy and Tuppences, the first one a couple of times, but this was a first time read for me and I've not read 4 and 5. I really enjoyed the characters of Tommy and Tuppence. I think they're a lot of fun and really enjoy reading about them, but somehow her Tommy and Tuppence books have never been my favourites. At this point in my chronological read through of Agatha Christie, we're into the 40s, and this is a World War II novel. This is set in England in 1940 and follows the characters of Tommy and Tuppence when they're a little bit older than we last saw them. They're now in their 40s and struggling to find a meaningful role in the war, and finding that people in their 40s aren't so wanted, and they're struggling, feeling very impotent and dying for something and a role to do. Soon Tommy's given an opportunity to investigate the 5th column, or the enemy within. Spies have infiltrated British intelligence and they don't know who they are and who they can trust, so they're needing somebody from the outside, somebody nobody has heard of before, to do some sleuthing for them. The title N.O.M. refers to the code names of the German operatives that are undercover, so they don't know whether they're on the trail of N, who is a male, or M, who is a female. They're just having to poke around and see what they come up with. So there's intrigue and mystery and, you know, lots of twists and turns, and the usual Tommy and Tuppence amount of charm. Really enjoyed it, and Agatha is definitely a good choice for a readathon because she's light and easy and doesn't take long to read. As I said, I was already into this, but I'm counting it as a read for the readathon because I didn't read anything for most of Sunday. But in terms of page count, only the last 113 pages I read for the readathon. This was the challenge of a book with Rama in the title and author, so we had R from Christie, A from Agatha, N from N.O.M, and A in Agatha. The next book I completed was on the Monday, and I read Guitar How I Rose by Bridget Lowry. This is one of my school books for the month. This is a book that I read in Year 9. I'm not going to say too much about it here because I will be doing wrap-up videos for all of my school books. But this follows the character of 15-year-old Rosie, and she's restless and wanting to rebel, and it's pushing the boundaries that her parents have placed. It also follows the character of Asher, who is a new kid in school, who's just moved from New South Wales to Western Australia after the breakup of his parents, and is naturally feeling very angsty and wanting to get away from it all. This is the one that I picked for my contemporary pick. It was published in the 90s, so the contemporariness is a little bit out of date now, but it's part love story, part road story, and yeah, really quite enjoyable. This one comes in at 205 pages. After finishing Guitar How I Rose, I then picked up The Amazing Adventures of Crale and Crale. This was still on Monday. This is my BookTube Recommends project pick of the month, so again, I'm not going to say too much about it here because there will be an individual video coming on this one. This fitted the challenge of a book from your TBR jar, or a book that was recommended to you. As I said, this is one that was both. It's a book that was recommended to me for the BookTube Recommends project, but I drew it out of my TBR jar for this month. This is the one that was recommended to me by Joe from Joe Reads Books, and it was so good. This is one that I was thinking I would start because it was something that I was wanting to get to for the month anyway, and didn't want to get completely sidetracked from my TBR by reading other things. So I thought I'd make a bit of a start on this one and then maybe move on to other things, and not expecting to finish this one in the week. I got hooked and I didn't want to move on to other things before I'd finish this one. So I read some of this on the Monday, and then I made really slow progress on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, working full time and not really getting anything ready in my lunch hours either, and then struggling to get stuff read at night, so I really kind of stalled through that middle period. But on Thursday I'd gotten to about halfway and I was thinking I would put it down then and try and get some other things read before the end of the Read-O-Rama. But where that left it, I really wanted to know what happened next. So I read another chunk of this on Friday, and I sat down on Saturday morning and went, look, why not? I'm just going to see whether I can get to the end of this. I read the final couple of 100 pages on Saturday, just devoured it, really enjoyed it, and I'm so pleased to have finally read it. This follows the lives of cousins Joseph Cavalier and Sam Clay, and it's part World War II novel, and family and friendship and love, and so much going on in it, and I'm not quite sure what I want to say about it yet when I film my video about this, but I really enjoyed it. This is not the standard readathon material. This comes in at 639 pages, so as I said, I wasn't expecting to finish it during the week, but I found it was impossible for me to move on to something else. I just wanted to devote my time to this one, not break it up, and just take it all in. So this brought me to mid-afternoon Saturday, last day of the readathon, going, what am I going to try to achieve next? So the fourth book that I finished for the readathon was The Strange Library by Haruki Murakami. This one, it was my diverse pick. Murakami is obviously a Japanese author, which is a diverse choice from me, and it's something that I got for Christmas. Tiny little thing. This is more readathon fodder. It's only 70 something pages, and most of that is pictures and not a lot of writing, so it took me 20-25 minutes tops to read this. Really bizarre little thing. Strange libraries, right? As somebody that's always worked in libraries, it did make me chuckle. It's a very strange little tale. Because it's so short, there isn't a lot of content to it, but the design and the layout and the presentation of it I think is fantastic. So as I said, there's a lot of pictures in this with only small amounts of text, and all the pages are that little bit different. This one's kind of got, you know, watermarking, and other ones have kind of got what looks like mold damage on them. No two pages are the same. You know, we've got this yellow page with some mold down the bottom here, and then a diagram with some dogs on it. Again, kind of really, I don't know whether you can see that, but really stained pages. One tiny little bit of text. So it's a really visually interesting and well put together book. I really enjoyed the experience of reading it, as there isn't a lot to it in terms of story, but it's eerie and it's fun. This follows the character of a young boy and what happens when he is basically trapped in a strange library. As I said, this one clocked in at only 77 pages and it didn't take me very long to read it all, so then I still had a choice of, well, I can see what I can try and achieve next. So the last book that I managed to complete for the readathon, and I was really cutting it fine by that point, was Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. This one I actually finished a couple of minutes past 12 o'clock in Australia, moving into Sunday, so, you know, didn't quite make it before the readathon ended, but it counts. This one hit two more of the challenges, namely green and a flower on the cover, and is the first book in the Southern Reach trilogy. This is something that I heard about on BookTube and I've been really intrigued with it. It tells the story of an expedition to a mysterious place called Area X, where the previous expeditions have all gone wrong in some way. That premise really intrigued me and was definitely interested to see how this went. It's really weird. Like, I read it and I was getting tighter and tighter as well last night, and I'm reading it going, do I understand what's going on? Am I meant to understand what's going on? Am I just too tired to understand what's going on? I reread a little bit of it this afternoon just to kind of recap on the ending, and I'm pretty sure I did take it all in, so that's good. But it's a very bizarre world, which you'd imagine. And being the first in a trilogy, I definitely don't think we've gotten the full picture yet. So this is told from the perspective of one of the members of the 12th expedition, a botanist, and I don't know that she's the most likeable character, or it was interesting being inside her head, but I am intrigued with her story, and definitely want to know what happens next. I really don't know how this is going to go forward and in what way, but it was a fun read and quite creepy. Like, there's this subtle kind of thread of dread through it. It's not full on in your face horror, but there's that real kind of creepy theme through it that's a little bit unsettling, and I quite enjoyed. And this one came in at 195 pages. I also had the next two books in the Southern Reach trilogy here in order to get the Read the Last Book in a Series challenge, which obviously I didn't get to, and I didn't expect to get to. With the 5 that I was able to complete, I already got much further than I thought I was going to get this week. All in all, I completed 1,229 pages during the readathon, and again, I'm really pleased with that because the majority of that was kind of focused on 2 days, Monday and Saturday. I didn't get all that much reading done throughout the week at all. So having said that, I'm really pleased with how much I was able to read during the week. There is a downside, and that downside is I didn't actually read any Middlemarch this week. Not one page. So I'm now behind in the buddy read that I'm doing with Erica, so I'm going to have to put some work in to catch up on this one. So for all that I've now put myself completely behind with Middlemarch, I am pleased that I did join in, for all that I was grumbling and groaning about it in my TBR video. So if you've read any of these books or have any questions, as always, let me know down in the comments. And as always, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!